Cassava is an important crop that is important for food security. Cassava has been called the drought, war, and famine crop because it can be grown in challenging conditions such as dry soils with low fertility, and it can be harvested when needed, not only at the end of a growing season, providing a reserve of food in times of war and famine. Hello and welcome to another interesting and informative episode of Mizizi. This week's episode is coming to you all the way from Kamarua in Embu County, where we have visited one Elder Mugo, who is a cassava farmer. As you can see, it's a very chilly afternoon, and as you know, Embu County is a rich agricultural zone, and one of the reasons that makes it such a viable environment for farming is the amount of rainfall that is enjoyed throughout the year. We will be learning more about cassava farming with Elder Mugo. He will be giving us details and guidelines on how we can be able to farm cassava in a successful and a profitable way. Stay with us. My name is Susan Mwangi, your host. Elder Mugo.
Hello.
We talked over the phone.
Yes.
I'm Susan.
Oh, very well.
Yes.
Glad to meet you.
Very glad to meet you too.
Yes.
Actually, it's very easy locating your home.
Thank you.
Because everybody here seems to know you.
Oh, very
Unajulikana kama Elder Mugo. Maybe
Yes.
as we go on, you will be telling us where that name came from.
Very well.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
You are welcome.
Yes.
I can see you are ready for the farm.
Yes.
You came completely prepared.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably you knew the rains would come. Huh?
I know this area, rainfall is part and it's part of the life here.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. I'm ready for you.
Uh-huh.
You are welcome.
Mhm.
If you're interested to go to the farm,
Yes.
we'll walk there.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, as we walk to the farm, we take the opportunity to know more about Elder Mugo Karugoto from Kamarua in Embu County and what his professional background entails. So have you been a farmer all through your life?
No, not really. I have done very many things in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I am a teacher by training.
Mm-hmm.
I progressed from my teaching and went into school management, education officer, and later I went to teacher training. And then finally I became education secretary in the Anglican Church. So I have seen very many schools grow and come up. But all the time I was doing farming as a secondary event.
Okay.
So when I retired, I came back home to do this farming business,
Yes.
just to sustain myself and to have a little income.
Okay.
So that's what I do now.
We now begin our trail to the cassava plantation. So like I told you earlier, it was very easy locating your home.
Yes.
Because you ask Elder Mugo, everybody knows you.
Yes.
Maybe you can tell us a little more about that. Where did the name Elder really be derived from?
My history spans not less than 70 years of life.
Wow, you're saying you are over 70 years?
I am.
How old are you? You don't look it.
Well, I'll leave the rest to you. But the truth is, following your question,
Yes.
I have done very many things even for the community.
Wow.
I serve in various capacities as a church elder. I also serve as the community CDF chairman. I'm also in quite a number of school boards of management.
Okay.
And so I'm popularly known here as an elder. Now let's go to the shamba and see what we do.
We now approach the cassava plantation where we will be learning more about cassava farming with Elder Mugo. So finally we have arrived at the part where Elder Mugo is growing the cassava, and just walking across the farm we realize that he is a subsistence farmer growing a variety of crops on his 6-acre land, and that is varying from the maize crops to the bananas to the arrowroot and many more. But today specifically we are here to learn more about cassava farming, and as you know, cassava crop has been for many decades identified or rather known as a poor man's crop, but that is no longer the case, and Elder Mugo is here to tell us why all that has changed. Cassava crop can grow on a wide range of soils due to its tolerance. Well-aerated soils are most appropriate for farming cassava, as Elder Mugo shares with us.
To do cassava, you don't need a very big area because cassava does not require a lot of preparation for planting. You don't need a seedbed or anything. Your soil must be fine enough and well prepared. Where I'm doing mine, my soil is alluvium because my land is a valley, and so the place where soil was running before I started conservation is where I do my cassava. Cassava does not go very deep when you plant. You just cut 2 pieces of the cassava tree itself, and then you dig a hole which is about 1 foot, and then you place the 2 strips, the 2 pieces of the tree into the soil, and then you bury it. Within 2 weeks or thereabouts, it will have sprouted and the tree will be going upwards. Later on, the roots will start developing, and those roots now start going side by side, eating into the soil, and they grow as big as the soil can allow them to grow. Cassava is usually, it does very well on soft soils, but if you go to soils like the black cotton mixed with some sad soils, it can do well. It's a drought-resistant crop, so in the areas where rain is not excessive, cassava will do well.
Cassava is propagated by cuttings. By planting pieces of stem, the roots of cassava are not used for making a new plantation, and thus all the harvest can be eaten or sold. To make cuttings, choose stems 2 to 4 centimeters thick and the strongest plants which are not diseased or which have already produced tubers. Elder Mugo shares with us.
If anybody was interested in the seed, I would have allowed him to take that. So what you do is you pick this, cut it into small pieces, this size, and then what you do is you just dig up. Might be easier to use a fork djembe or a djembe, and then you place them here. You place them there. And now, since there is rain, I assure you, if you come another week or 2, these 2 will have done the shoots, and that is how you plant cassava. It's not a big deal. So by the next month or so, the roots will have started developing, and the roots move east, west, south, north, depending on how rich the soil is. And I said earlier, if the soil is very good, the roots will grow bigger and they will grow longer because they go as far as they can to look for nutrients. That's my conviction that cassava is the best crop you can get.
Although cassava can tolerate poor soils, adding manure to the farms is ideal as the cassava will produce bigger tubers.
If you want your cassava to grow big, prepare the soil properly. You can do some kind of placing majani on the ground, and when those majanis rot, then your cassava is very good.
Cassava have rich nutritional value and can be utilized in many different ways, such as through boiling it, cassava flour, through value addition, and many more.
The moment you see cassava moving towards a direction, it is going to look for minerals in that direction. And the longer the cassava, the better it is, because the direction it goes, it looks for a lot of nutrients. There are very many ways you can prepare cassava. One, you can eat it raw. It's very good when you eat it raw. I have not verified, but I'm told when you eat it raw, you mitigate cancer. I don't know. Then again, you can boil cassava. Eat it boiled. You can also deep fry cassava. You can also make flour out of cassava and mix cassava flour with maize flour and make perfect ugali. You can also make cakes from cassava. You can as well make chapati from cassava flour. So it's a crop that actually no other crop can match in the market. The maize can only be used for one purpose, either eating it when it is roasted or doing flour. But cassava has very many uses, which I would like to recommend many more farmers to grow it for consumption.
The market for cassava is yet to be exploited. Elder Mugo advises farmers to plant the crop for household consumption as well as for commercial purposes.
People are growing now to like it. And if you grow it at a big area, you can also make money out of cassava.
Cassava, like many roots and tubers, requires less crop husbandry. The most important thing is regular weeding to avoid competition for nutrients, which may have a negative impact on the yield if not weeded.
You don't spray cassava, you don't do anything, you don't add fertilizers. It is just good. All you need to do is come, weed, like you can see, we weeded the first time. Now the second time some weed is coming back, we shall go back there and weed again. That's all. It doesn't incur any costs to grow cassava at all.
The most serious pests of cassava, those causing economic damage or yield losses, are generally those that have co-evolved with the crop, including mites, hornworms, whiteflies, among others. Elder Mugo assures though no pest is really quite harmful to the tubers.
I have not seen insects attacking cassava, but there is some kind of an insect, a very minute insect that has come that is attacking the leaves. But that does not affect the root, because cassava will give off more leaves even when the initial leaves fall. So there isn't a single insect or pest that has conquered cassava per se. No.
Early maturing cassava varieties are ready for harvesting at 7 months, while late maturing varieties are ready at 12 months after planting.
From the time you lay the 2 strips, it can take you 2 seasons to mature fully. If you want big tubers, give it 2 rains, which in effect means 2 seasons. So if you plant in March, maybe the best time to go for the tubers now, it is March of the following year. You'll get very good tubers.
The proper stage for harvesting is when the leaves turn yellow and fall down and the roots are mature. It is advisable to harvest cassava once it is fully matured.
We have ways of checking. If you go and dig a little alongside where the tubers are moving, you can assess the size of the tuber. So then you know it's matured. There's yet another thing I want to add. And I want to advise Kenyans very strongly, because I have had information from West Africa, from my grandchildren who went to Sierra Leone. In Sierra Leone, cassava is eaten as vegetable and is a very nutritious vegetable. So when they came back, I tried and we made ugali out of it, the vegetable, and they really loved it. And I'm convinced that it is very nutritious, because if you look at the behavior of the tuber and the direction the tubers take to look for minerals, it means the vegetable is just as good, if not better. So I can advise my fellow Kenyans and all people who want to live better, a better life, eat natural and you'll live longer.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We now take a short break. This is Miss Zizi coming to you all the way from Kamaroa Farm in Embu County. Stay with us.